Grace Fryer was born in New Jersey in 1899. She was the fifth of 11 children born to Daniel and Grace. Daniel was a carpenter and union representative, while his wife Grace worked hard raising their large family and keeping house. There aren't many records of Grace's childhood, but she grew up close to her siblings and her parents, and the family was happy. Everything changed for the Fryer family, along with the rest of the United States, in April 1917. Grace was just 18 and ready to enter the workforce when the U.S. entered World War I. As her 3 older brothers made plans to head off to war, she found a highly desirable job. She would have had no idea how drastically her new job would change her life, nor what impact it would have on workers for generations to come. Grace's new job was at United States Radium Corporation in Orange, New Jersey. Grace, along with hundreds of other young women, worked as dial painters, painting watches and military dials with a radium paint that would glow in the dark. One of Grace's co-workers, Charlotte Purcell, is showing the technique the painters would use with their paintbrushes to paint the tiny dials, some less than 1.5 inches across. They would use their lips to make the perfect point on the brush, dip the brush into the paint, then paint the dial, and repeat. The painters were assured that the paint wasn't dangerous. The men working in the labs were protected from the radioactive element, but the women ingesting small amounts all day were not even warned. Grace worked as a dial painter for almost 3 years. In 1920, Grace left USRC and went to work as a bank teller. By 1922, Grace began having pain in her jaw and feet. One of her co-workers, Molly Maggia, had an infection that started with one tooth, and within 4 months had spread to her jugular vein, causing her death at only 24 years old. As more young women who had worked as dial painters fell ill, USRC denied responsibility for 2 years, until they commissioned an independent study to look into a link between radium and the deaths. The report clearly showed the women were being harmed by the radium. But USRC's president, Arthur Roeder, was outraged. He hid the report, lied to the Department of Labor, and launched a smear campaign against the women. But Grace was tenacious, and she kept fighting. She even said, "It is not for myself I care. I am thinking more of the hundreds of girls to whom this may serve as an example." Even as she was fighting for her life, Grace continued fighting for the women. She settled with USRC before her death in 1933 at age 34. Other women continued what she had started, and eventually their fight led to the creation of OSHA and revolutionized protections for workers. Thank you for taking a few moments with me today to remember the short yet impactful life of Grace Fryer.